Hello, parents and guardians of students in section 707 through 712. My name is Kimberly Jarosiewicz. You may have heard your students refer to me as Mrs. J, and I have the pleasure of teaching your students social studies at Baldy Middle School in 7th grade. So what I would like to do today is present to you an overview of the skills that I hope your students will acquire this year through project-based learning, as well as a year at a glance of the topics that I hope we will be able to cover this year. I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see in writing what I have as I speak about it. Alrighty, so we're going to begin right here with develop the capacity to work with others while completing complex and meaningful assignments. This basically is just a fancy way of saying the students will be able to work together in a group really well. And the way that we are hoping to accomplish this is through students setting roles that they think are necessary for completing particular projects, as well as rules that all of the students agree on in order to work productively in a group. And I'm really excited to say that your students have already started this. We're working on a mini project related to the 5 themes of geography, and your students are learning what works in terms of communication and also what rules they think are important to follow. So I'm really excited to see how this plays out. And we're going to continue to work in groups throughout the year. The second skill is for students to engage in roles and assignments that have meaning outside of a virtual classroom. So this is basically authentic work for the students. It could be that the students will ask me to reach out to someone as a guest speaker, and once that person's vetted, perhaps somebody from the government or a particular agency related to what we're working on, and maybe they can give some additional insight into the topics that we're covering. Additionally, this authentic classwork would include students being able to, through a larger question, use their inquiry-based learning to connect what we're doing to something that's important to them in terms of content, people, events. Something else that I've already started with the students is giving them feedback. I'm giving students feedback on their writing assignments in terms of what they're doing really, really well and what I hope they'll be able to improve upon. But eventually, I would like to loop the students in so that way they're giving peer-to-peer feedback. And I think that that's going to be really helpful for the students as they grow in terms of being able to collaborate as well as their writing and other skills. The last 2 skills that I hope to work on this year, I believe go hand in hand, and they basically fall under the umbrella of thinking like a historian. The first part of this is develop a deep understanding and knowledge of practices used by historians. So essentially, students would learn how to source documents, how to tell whether or not the speaker of a particular document or source is giving a truthful account of what happened, and maybe what their motivations were, but additionally understanding the accuracy of information that's recorded. The other thing that I hope for students to understand is how to analyze and interrogate past events, historical figures, and ways of thinking. So what this basically means is that students will understand who people were, what happened, and how people thought about events back when they happened, but also I want students to understand how that way of thinking or how we think about a particular event or person changes over time and the impacts that has right now and the impacts that could have on the student in their life. The next thing I want to talk to you about is the year at a glance. So right now we are learning about geography, and we will continue to loop geography in throughout the year. The student will also learn about culture and conflict, and we've started to learn about cultures in terms of why we should study particular cultures, as well as why it's important to speak about cultures that we don't understand in a respectful way. Next, we're going to work on historical thinking skills, which I hope to continue doing throughout the year as we look at primary source documents and things of that nature. We will also work on European geography and ancient civilizations, European history, modern and contemporary Europe, Latin American geography, Latin American history, North American geography, and finally, North American history. So this is the brief overview. Of course, if you have any questions about this, please feel free to message me on Dojo or send me an email. And I want to take a moment in my video to give a special thanks to all the parents who are taking the time to make sure that your students are getting on the Google Meets on time.